Hello everyone, welcome. I am Shalini Pandey, Assistant Professor of English in Government TCL College, Janjgir. And in this today's session, we are going to discuss significance of sleepwalking scene. This is a very important scene. In your exam, question may come like describe the significance of sleepwalking scene in Macbeth. So let's begin the discussion. You follow my cursor. Macbeth is one of the greatest tragedies of William Shakespeare. It is called the tragedy of ambition and fate. In this play, there are some significant scenes. They have their dramatic significance. Among them, sleepwalking scene is one of the most memorable and remarkable scenes. So there are many important scenes like a Potter scene or opening scenes of witches, banquet scene, and among them, sleepwalking scene has its own significance. Sleepwalking scene is a critically celebrated scene from William Shakespeare tragedy Macbeth. The first scene in the tragedy five act. So this is a first scene of the fifth act. The sleepwalking scene is written principally in prose and follow the guilt-racked sleepwalking Lady Macbeth. She collects horrific images. She recollects horrific images and impressions from her past, horrible past. The scene is Lady Macbeth's last on stage appearance, though her death is reported later in the act. One of the Shakespeare's most well-known and terrifying female character is Lady Macbeth. Afterward, what happens? However, Lady Macbeth begins a slow slide into madness, almost madness. Just as ambition affect her more strongly than Macbeth before the crime, so does guilt plague her more strongly afterward. So earlier she was very stronger than Macbeth. It was she who instigated Macbeth to kill King Duncan. But later on, what happened? She deteriorated. Her mental condition deteriorated. She was filled with guilt, and so her retribution is also strong. Repentance is also stronger than Macbeth. The sleepwalking scene opens with a discussion between two characters making their first appearances, the doctor and the waiting gentlewoman. So there is a waiting gentlewoman who takes care of Lady Macbeth. She's all the time around her, and she has observed that Lady Macbeth walks in her sleep. She's totally mentally now disturbed, and there Macbeth has gone to wars, and he is fighting with his enemies, and here Lady Macbeth is left alone to cope with her maladies. So here a doctor has been called to examine Lady Macbeth. The gentlewoman indicates Lady Macbeth has walked in her sleep. So she has informed doctor that our Lady Macbeth is walking in sleep, and she is suffering. So you must do something. She is asking doctor. She will not report to doctor anything Lady Macbeth has in her somnambulistic state. This sleepwalking practice is called somnambulism. Okay, somnambulism. So her state is called somnambulistic state because she has no witness to confirm her testimony. So that nurse, that lady in waiting, who is assistant of Lady Macbeth, she had heard something from Lady Macbeth. What happens when Lady Macbeth sleeps walk? She utters things from past. She confesses her guilt, that what she had done and what Macbeth has done. So she doesn't want to report all this to doctor. Here we find that Lady Macbeth is walking in sleep, She has become mad. She's almost become mad. Why? Because she doesn't know where she is and where she is talking. And if she was were not mad, she would not have talked like that. In her madness, she accepts her guilt. Almost open confession. She is full of guilt and remorse. She is full of guilt. She is torturing her soul is torturing. She cannot tolerate darkness at all. She needs light even in day. When that Lady Macbeth killed King Duncan, means she instigated Macbeth to kill King Duncan. At that before that, she has invited the spirit of darkness that you come to me, you unsex my body and my feelings. You take all of the pity from me, and you make me very strong so that I can instigate my husband to kill King Duncan. Oh darkness, come so that we can do our deed in that way. But now that she is dreading that very much darkness, and she is not able to tolerate darkness at all. Sleepwalking scenes opens in a lobby of a castle of Dunsinane. So earlier the name of the Macbeth castle was Inverness, but now Macbeth has become king. So Duncan Castle has become Macbeth Castle, and the name of the castle is Dunsinane. है ना? So you must remember so that Dunsinane is a castle of Macbeth now, and she is sleepwalking in that lobby of that castle, that Lady Macbeth. Doctor has been called in to examine Lady Macbeth's sleepwalking malady. When the doctor is talking to the waiting woman is that gentlewoman who is helping Lady Macbeth, carrying a taper candlestick, Lady Macbeth enters sleepwalking. The doctor and the gentlewoman stand aside to observe. They are standing aside and they are observing. They are speaking very silently so that anything Lady Macbeth should not hear about them. And they are just observing Lady Macbeth. The doctor, the doctor and gentlewoman stand aside to observe everything. She desperately trying to wash away an invisible bloodstain. Now, Lady Macbeth, what she is doing? She desperately rubbing her hands. She is behaving as if she is washing her hands, and she is seeing an invisible bloodstain of King Duncan. Her eyes are open. She is rubbing her hands together as if she want to wash something out of them. So she is rubbing all the time, all the time. Out, out, damn spot. I say, one, two, why? Then it's time to bed, to bed. So she is washing all the stain, but that stain is not going away from her hand. And at the same time, she is asking her husband, go to bed, because Macbeth was very much disturbed after killing King Duncan. So she told him that you just go to bed and relax and everything will be all right. And so Lady Macbeth is not in present now. She is in past. She is in the time period when they had planned to kill King Duncan and when they killed King Duncan. She says the words with which she led her husband Macbeth on to the crime. So she was the one who instigated Macbeth to commit the crime, and now she is telling all those things. Five, my lord, five, a soldier and afraid. So again, she is telling something which she told when about up in the past. Then the horrifying view of Duncan lying in a pool of blood ever haunts her like a nightmare. Now she is imagining that Duncan is lying in a pool of blood, and it was a very horrifying scene which she is imagining. Yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him? She shouts out, these hands will never be clean. So, in this way, she is behaving madly. She is thinking that the old man has so much blood, that Duncan has so much blood, that blood is not going away from her hands. All the time, she is having blood of King Duncan, and her hand is stinking. It's a bloody smell is there. As she looked at them, she then speaks the phrases she used to reprimand her husband at the banquet scene. You married all that with the stating. Again, she has transported to past. Now she is thinking about the words, the sentences which she told her husband during the banquet scene when they have killed Banco. So she instigated Macbeth and she scolded Macbeth. Now she is remembering that. In the night that follow the murder, she appears to still be able to hear someone knocking on the castle gate, and she goes to bed terrified. Then she is remembering the day when they killed, the night when they killed King Duncan, and afterward they heard that somebody is knocking at the door. So again, she is hearing that knocking. This knocking is not there at this time, but she is imagining. She is imagining as Macbeth was imagining hallucinated dagger, and the porter hallucinated the sinners at the hell gate. Now this is time for Lady Macbeth to hallucinate. Thus, this scene demonstrates how Lady Macbeth is mentally disturbed, and she is imagining bizarre flashback. She is not living in present. She is living in flashbacks. You know, in movie there are flashbacks. She is going all the time to flashback to the past, unaware of what she is saying. She is not aware at all. Otherwise, she would not have told all those things, because these are the open confession that they had killed Duncan, they had killed Banquo, and they had killed Macduff and his not Macduff, Macduff's wife and his children. She talks about the bloody murder of King Duncan, Banquo, Macduff's wife, and his children, and at the next moment, she looks at her hands and exclaims, here is the smell of blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. So now she is telling that her hand is very little, very short, but here is a stinky smell of blood, and all the perfumes of Arabia cannot um, make this hand sweeten, or cannot take away the stinky smell from her hand. And at the time when they were committing the crime, and Macbeth was horrified that he killed King Duncan, at that time Lady Macbeth tell, why you are horrified? You don't need to be horrified. You just take some water, and all the blood will be cleaned from your hand. Nothing is there. You don't get horrified. There is nothing in it. Just wash your hand with water and everything will be all right. She told like that. But now things has changed completely. The doctor now begins to suspect the truth. Now doctor was a very intelligent doctor, so knew everything what was happening at that time, that there was a rumor that how Macbeth became king of Scotland. Maybe he became king after murdering King Duncan. So he knew all these rumors. Now he is suspecting all these things. Oh, so this Macbeth and Lady Macbeth had killed so many people, but he can do nothing. He tells the waiting woman that such a disease is beyond his power to cure. Now he is confessing that he can't cure this Lady Macbeth. She is beyond cure. He adds that he does not need the help of surgeon, but she needs divine aid, blessings of God. What she needed is just blessings of God, God's intervention. Otherwise, she can't be healed. The doctor feels Lady Macbeth is beyond his sleep, saying she has more need of divine than the physician. So she doesn't need doctor, she need a God blessings. But the most important dramatic function of the scene lies in the fact that it shows that the collapse of Lady Macbeth is now complete. Now she is completely collapsed. There is no cure. Now she has reached the condition only death can cure her malady, or nothing can do her any good. Only she can be good if she will die. Look, Lady Macbeth was all the time there to help Macbeth, but when Lady Macbeth is in need, Macbeth is nowhere. So her condition is worse now. In the earlier scene of the tragedy, she appears stronger than her husband. But now that they are in different locations, Lady Macbeth is acting desperately. She is frustrated. She is remorse filled. She had previously stated that sleep was the one thing Macbeth needed the most. And now her own sleep is being overwhelmed by the horrific dreams. When Macbeth was disturbed and horrified that he killed King Duncan, Lady Macbeth told him, "Just go to bed, and everything will be all right. You will be cured." But now sleep has gone away from Lady Macbeth's eyes. The curse on the Lady Macbeth manifests itself not through terror but through regret. It drives her husband to commit further acts of violence. She is not involved in any murders other than that first. So she was involved in the murder of King Duncan only, and otherwise she was not involved in the murder of Banquo or Macduff's wife or Macduff's children. She was innocent in that regard. We know that in the play, Lady Macbeth time and again requested supernatural powers to unsex her and take away the milk of human kindness from her. When when she got a letter from Macbeth that now witches has prophesied about him that he will become king of Scotland one day. At that time, she invited the spirits of darkness, spirits of devil, to unsex her. That you must make me like a male, not like a lady, so that I can instigate my husband to kill Duncan. But now all those pities, all those human kindness has gone from her body forever. And now she is suffering like anything. She is very feminine. She's although we thought that Lady Macbeth is a very witch kind of character. It is also called that she is one of fourth witch of the play Macbeth. Three witches were there who made prophecies now, and the Lady Macbeth is the fourth witch. But actually, she was not a witch. She had very feminine nature, and she has all those pity. Therefore, she is suffering. In the sleepwalking scene, this feminine nature comes before us. So we are watching that she has all those qualities of feminine. So therefore, she is suffering under the pressure of her guilt. She wilt. She is wilting, and her sleepwalking is a symbol of her very feminine nature. So she has all the feminine nature, she has a pity, she has a fear, everything. Therefore, she is suffering. Otherwise, she would not have suffered so much. She loses the balance of her mind because she knows about the deeds that women cannot tolerate. She has been part of the deeds, part of the murder which women cannot tolerate. So now she is suffering. Once the sense of guilt comes home to settle, Lady Macbeth's sensitivity becomes a weakness and she is unable to cope. So earlier, she just feigned that she is not very sensitive, she is very strong like a male, but actually she was not strong like a male. She was very sentimental, very sensitive like a woman only. So she is not able to cope with the situation. Significantly, she apparently kills herself, signaling her total inability to deal with the legacy of their crime. So, what happens in the last act, and almost in the last scene, we heard from Macduff that she committed suicide. She fell from some high place because she was not able to cope with her crime, and she was not able to come out of her guilt. So she committed suicide. Thus, this scene represents the horrible experiences of Lady Macbeth. Her feminine nature revolt against her foulness. So she was feminine, she was woman, so she could not tolerate all those crime, and she became mad, and she suffered from somnambulism. Her fear of death and hell also disturbs her. Thus, we can say that sleepwalking scene is one of the most significant scene of this play, and hope you like this video. Thank you so much.